I never went on an NYU. I never toured NYU. I never visited here before I applied here. I was just like, I'm going to go to NYU. Boop-a-doop. And I, like, applied. Yeah, I applied early decision from the back of a FEMA trailer. It was a baller.
Yeah, so why were you in a FEMA trailer?
Girl, you know why I was in a FEMA trailer. Shoot, girl. Hurricane Katrina ate my house, that bitch. It was just chilling. And then, next thing you know, it was like, house. Shout, Katrina. No house anymore. And no, I'm not from New Orleans. Fuck New Orleans. If the levees never broke, like, New Orleans would not even been a topic, which is very upsetting because people still are, like, harping on it, like, to this day. But it's like, okay, there were other, like, entire, like, states that were hit by, like, you know, Katrina. I used to live 2 minutes from the beach. So all my life I've heard, like, we have to evacuate. And we'd always leave, pack everything up, go 13 miles inland to my grandma's house. And, like, they would lose power out there. We'd get back home and our power never went off. Seriously, like, a lot of people are like, why didn't everyone evacuate? Because if you keep, like, that's like if someone keeps telling, like, everyone in Manhattan, okay, such and such is going to happen. You got to evacuate to Jersey. And then nothing happens here in Manhattan. But in Jersey, things get all messed up. After a while, it's like, you know, it's the meteorologist who cried wolf. And you're like, screw you, guy. Like, you need to go back to school. I'm not leaving. We weren't really paying attention to the storm because my mom's oldest sister, like, I got really sick, like, a few days, like, the Thursday before the storm, I got really sick. I went to school. We don't know what happened to this day. We don't know. Like, I think it was an omen from God. Like, and I was just, like, my nose just started bleeding. They stopped the nosebleed, and I just started coughing up blood. It was just really strange. And then I was throwing up blood. It was, like, just really strange. And they took me, like, I had to leave school, like, go to the hospital. And at the same time, my mom's, like, older sister started having, like, chest pain. So they took her to the hospital. And so she ended up having a heart attack, and she, like, passed away the Friday before Katrina. So Katrina hit on, like it was like a Sunday or Monday. My mom's older sister passed away. So we were getting ready for funeral arrangements. So we really were not paying attention to, like, evacuation things. And I was still sick and on medication. So we didn't really pack anything from our house. Like, I mean, people went everywhere, like, to different states. Like, a lot of people went to, like, Texas. Like, a lot of people went to, like, Alabama. People went, like, northern Mississippi. Some people went to Florida, which is a little backwards if you ask me. It's like going straight into the direction of the storm. But, you know, I don't judge. Out of all of my friends, I'm the only one that was still in the state. And, like, it was just strange because our house was the only one that, like, my grandma's house was the only one that didn't get any damage. It was really weird. Which we were grateful because there was, like, a 3-month-old baby in the house with us. So we're like, oh, Lord. Like, we left after the storm, like, passed over and everything. And there were, like, a bunch of trees and, like, you know, the street and stuff. And, I mean, I'm from the country. Like, my uncles are not going to wait for, like, you know, the rescue people to come and move the trees. They just got chainsaws and start cutting shit up and moving trees out of the middle of the road. And we went back down to, like, the main part of Pass Christian, and there was, like, mud, like, this thick, and I was, like, walking through the mud, and, like, my mom dropped me off a few blocks from, like, our neighborhood, because she had to find another way around, because she couldn't drive through the mud, so I'm walking, and she pulls up on this side street, and she opens the door, and she's like, just get in the car, and I was like, well, I don't want to get mud in the car. She's like, just get in the car, and I was like, fine, and she's like, and don't look around, and I was like, what do you mean? So I got in the car, closed the door, and I looked, and I had been standing, like, 10 feet from a dead body. Like, I didn't realize, and I, like, turned around, like, freaked the fuck out, because it was a guy that lived down the street from me, this, like, old man, who tried to, like, it's not funny, but he tried to ride out the hurricane on the roof of his house. Not the brightest idea. I mean, it's really not funny to laugh at dead people, but, you know, wasn't the brightest idea. They had these bottles of water this big, like, every couple of days, like, these huge trucks would come in with, like, huge bottles of water, and we would just go stand in the shower, and you got, like, one bottle of water to, like, shower with, and so it's like, oh, it's freezing cold, but I mean, I guess the cold water was fine because it was hot as hell. Like, things that they don't tell you on the news about, like, you know, hurricanes. It's hot afterwards, it barely rains, lots of creepy crawlies are around. You can't drink the water for, like, you can't, like, shower, drink the water, brush your teeth, like, out of the faucet for a few days because the water's probably contaminated. So it's, like, very inconvenient. It's hard because I feel like every time I think back, there's always one thing that I'm like, oh, I would have totally taken that with me. I would have totally taken that. Like, my middle school, like, class ring, totally would have taken that. Or, like, my guitar, I totally would have taken that. Or, I don't know, a pillow. Like, I didn't have, well, no, I took one pillow, but it wasn't the comfortable one. I would have taken my house. Like, just the whole thing. I would, because, I mean, if someone's going to ask me, like, what would I have taken, I would assume they have powers to, like, send me back and get it. So I would ask for superhuman strength as well, and then just pick up my whole house and, like, put it on a hitch on the back of the Jeep and take that with me. Well, Like, the news is like, you know, if students need to go to school from a hurricane-affected area, you can go anywhere, and they'll take you. And we went, but if you didn't have credentials, they put you in remedial classes. So I'm, like, a straight-A student in, like, remedial English. And it was like, the dog is running swiftly down the street. And I was the new girl. Like, I was born and raised in Pasture Sham, Mississippi. I've never been the new girl. It was just weird. And they're all like, are you from New Orleans? And I was like, no. And they're like, what's it like in the South? I'm like, sweetie, you're still south of the Mason-Dixon line. You should know. Like, people in Atlanta don't know they're in the South, and it's kind of sad. And then they made us go to these, like, it was like this, like, support group. It almost felt like AA. Like, they made us go there, like, all the kids, and they called us refugees, which was the worst thing. They called us refugees at this school. So I finally figured out that, like, once you cried, like, anyone that cried never had to come back to these meetings. And I was like, I really wish that I could just, like, make myself cry. But I was like, I didn't feel like crying. I wasn't, like, sad. I was just like, you know, shit happens, you know, whatever. Sitting in Spanish class one morning, Channel 1 comes on. I look, and it's my high school principal on Channel 1. And she's, like, really tan. Like, homegirl tanned way too much. She was, like, burnt orange. Like, Valencia orange tan. And she's just like, and then Pats Christian, like, you know, we're just really fortunate to have Robin Roberts come. We're hoping to be able to start school soon. And I was like, gotcha. Called my mom's like, I saw it on Channel 1. They're starting school. I'm coming home. And I, like, went home, and it was amazing. I was totally cool. I was like, sweet. I'm having chungs. I'm 18. I'm alive. It's all good. And all my friends were just, like, crying. They're like, we thought you were dead. And I was like, no, I was just in Georgia. I mean, we lived, like, on the floor in a room in my grandma's house for, like, the longest time. Like, with a bunch of my other extended family members who lost their houses. Like, we were all cramped. Like, maybe 20 of us in this, like, 4-bedroom house with no plumbing for 4 weeks. So now I was in a FEMA trailer. And I was sleeping in the kitchen because, like, there's only 1 bedroom in a FEMA trailer. So screwed up. So it's a family of 3, my mom, my sister, and I. So... like, the sofa in the living room of the FEMA trailer, which is, like, smaller than most of the rooms at NYU. So, like, there was, like, a bedroom with an accordion door that would close off, and there was just 1 bed in there. And then there was a sofa in the living room that, like, folded out into a bed. And then the kitchen table folded. It was a kitchen table and these 2, like, benches, like, next to it, like a booth almost. And you fold the kitchen table down, you slide the cushions from the booth over it, and it makes a bed. I literally slept on the kitchen table next to the mini stove. like, good Lord. If my mom got up in the morning and decided she wanted to bake something, I was hot. It's like, oh my God, it was ridiculous. It was funny, though, because we had internet. I slept on the kitchen table, but we had internet in the FEMA trailer and a phone. How do you think I applied to NYU?